Welcome to Mega Stadiums. The 2026 World Cup is the biggest in history. Home 4 matches, 3 countries, and 16 lucky cities chosen to host it all. To get there, organizers started with almost 50 stadiums and spent 5 years cutting, culling, and crushing hopes. Some of the most famous arenas in North America among them. Today, we're going through every single one of them, the city, the capacity, and exactly why each one was ultimately rejected. Let's get started. The exclusions happened in 3 waves. First, in 2017, the United Bid Committee trimmed its sprawling list of nearly 50 venues down to a working shortlist. Then, in March 2018, the field narrowed again, when the bid was finalized into the 23 stadiums handed to FIFA. And finally, the cruelest cut. The venues that survived all of that made FIFA's last group of 22 finalists, endured years of inspections, and still got rejected on announcement in June 2022. Allegiant Field, Birmingham, Alabama. Starting the first round of stadiums rejected, one of the grand old grounds of Southern football, Allegiant Field opened all the way back in 1927 in Birmingham, Alabama, and even staged matches at the 1996 Olympic football tournament. But by the time the World Cup came calling, it was a fading, aging venue with no major professional tenant, holding 71,594 fans, but stranded in one of the smallest markets in the running. With sleeker, better connected stadiums available right across the South, Birmingham was one of the very first names struck off the list. Huntington Bank Field, Cleveland, Ohio. The lakefront home of the Cleveland Browns is a respectable NFL venue with room for 67,895, but it carried little football pedigree and sat in a market with no top-flight football presence. In a Midwestern East already crowded with stronger candidates, there was simply nothing to make Cleveland stand out. It was eliminated in the opening wave of cuts, never advancing to serious contention. Lucas Oil Stadium, Indianapolis, Indiana. On paper, a genuinely modern, retractable roof arena from 2008, undone entirely by its surface. Lucas Oil runs artificial turf in Indianapolis, Indiana, and FIFA insists on natural grass. Earlier attempts to lay temporary sod, including for an Inter-Chelsea friendly, were poorly received. Rather than commit to an expensive permanent conversion, the city reinvested in newer artificial turf, confirming it was heading in the opposite direction from FIFA's demands. TIAA Bank Field, Jacksonville, Florida. A perfectly capable home for the Jaguars in Jacksonville, Florida, but one of the smaller markets in the southeast that was absolutely overflowing with bidders. Up against Miami, Atlanta, Orlando, and Tampa, simply couldn't match the volume of larger, more modern facilities crowding the region. When the field was trimmed, Jacksonville was among the first to fall. Caesars Superdome, New Orleans, Louisiana. The iconic Superdome had a deal-breaking flaw, a fixed, non-retractable roof, which makes growing FIFA's required natural grass effectively impossible. Its playing surface in New Orleans, Louisiana was also too tight to expand without costly structural surgery, and with no MLS team and a thinner local football culture, the commercial case was weak. It was knocked out at the very first stage. Alamadome, San Antonio, Texas. A domed, multi-purpose venue from 1993 in San Antonio, Texas, the Alamadome was fighting an uphill battle on 2 fronts. Its enclosed, aging bowl, built for 64,000, couldn't easily accommodate a full-size pitch without major work, and Texas was already powerfully represented by Dallas and Houston. With the state's heavyweight options locked in, San Antonio was cut early. Acrisure Stadium, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The home of the Steelers is a fine football stadium in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, but it offered little the bid didn't already have in abundance. A smaller football market wedged into a packed eastern corridor of New York, Philadelphia, Boston, and Baltimore, Pittsburgh brought no decisive advantage to the table. It was eliminated in the first round of cuts. Mosaic Stadium, Regina, Saskatchewan. A smart, modern Canadian ground, but far too small for the job. Mosaic sits well below FIFA's roughly 40,000 minimum for a World Cup match, and Regina is a modest market in a country whose bid quickly consolidated around its biggest cities. It never stood a realistic chance, and was cut at the first opportunity. Bank of America Stadium, Charlotte, North Carolina. Now starting the second round of stadiums rejected, the home of the Carolina Panthers in Charlotte couldn't meet FIFA's pitch specifications, and reconfiguring it would have cost more than the city was willing to pay. The stadium raised doubts about whether the city's wider infrastructure could cope with an event of this scale compared to its rivals. In the end, Charlotte never submitted a full bid, quietly dropping out before the final 23 were chosen. Ford Field, Detroit, Michigan. a sleek downtown dome in Detroit, which was precisely its undoing. The indoor artificial turf would have required a costly natural grass conversion with full irrigation and drainage, and wary of FIFA's open-ended financial commitments, Detroit's organizers chose not to formally pursue a bid at all. A proud 1994 host city with a 65,000-seat arena, Detroit walked away before the race even heated up. Allegiant Stadium, Las Vegas, Nevada. One of the most jaw-dropping venues in all of America, seating 72,000 in Las Vegas. But its showpiece field sits on a retractable tray that's simply too narrow to meet FIFA's standards for the runoff space around a pitch. Reworking it was studied, but the compliance bill threatened to sail past 100 million tile saves with no clarity on who would foot it. Faced with that, Las Vegas withdrew from contention. State Farm Stadium, Glendale, Arizona. A proven major event host in Glendale, Arizona, complete with a rollout natural grass tray, close to ideal on the field itself. The problem was the fine print at a venue built for $63,400. The bid group balked at FIFA's demands for full tax exemptions, unrestricted currency flows, and contracts governed by Swiss law. Judging the financial risk too steep, Arizona pulled out before the bid book was finalized. Raymond James Stadium, Tampa, Florida. A strong stadium in Tampa, Florida, and the home of the Buccaneers, but one that slammed straight into the same wall as the rest of the state. Regional saturation. With Miami and Orlando also pushing hard, and the broader Southeast bursting with options, there was no room for a third Florida venue at 65,000 seats. When the bid narrowed to 23, Tampa was squeezed out. Cotton Bowl, Dallas, Texas. History counted for plenty here. The Cotton Bowl was one of 9 American venues that staged matches at the 1994 World Cup. But for 2026, Dallas, Texas threw its weight behind the gleaming, air-conditioned, retractable-roofed AT&T Stadium in nearby Arlington, a far better answer to the brutal Texas summer. The grand old Cotton Bowl was relegated to a training site role, passed over by its modern neighbor. Memorial Coliseum, Los Angeles, California. When Los Angeles launched its bid, it floated 3 venues: the historic Coliseum, the Rose Bowl, and the brand new SoFi Stadium. But a city can only host through one, and the Coliseum was the first of the trio to fall away, as LA chose to back the dazzling new SoFi and the iconic Rose Bowl instead. A 2-time Olympic stadium in California, it never even reached the group of finalists. Rice-Eccles Stadium, Salt Lake City, Utah. The smallest stadium the United States put forward, Rice-Eccles in Salt Lake City, Utah was always going to struggle. Its compact, fixed footprint couldn't easily be widened to fit a full international pitch without major renovation, and Salt Lake City was a smaller market facing fierce competition. It was cut when the bid was trimmed to 23 in 2018. M&T Bank Stadium, Baltimore, Maryland. And finally, the last round of selection. After FIFA raised concerns about the aging FedEx Field, Washington abandoned its own venue and folded into Baltimore's bid in Maryland, proposing matches at the 71,000-seat M&T Bank Stadium with fan events back in the capital. Yet despite building the plan around FIFA's own feedback, it still wasn't selected, leaving the host nation's capital region off the World Cup map for the first time in decades. Local organizers were stunned, blaming the snub partly on a lack of transparency in the process. Paycor Stadium, Cincinnati, Ohio. Cincinnati ran a genuinely spirited campaign, but its stadium would have needed rebuilt corner sections, more than 1,800 seats removed, and a brand new grass pitch. Commentators pointed to thin supporting infrastructure, particularly public transport and airport links, and the fact that the promised upgrades simply hadn't been delivered yet. After years of effort, Paycor's fell agonizingly short at the final hurdle. Empower Field at Mile High, Denver, Colorado. One of the pre-announcement favorites, which made the rejection all the more painful. The stadium in Denver, Colorado ticked FIFA's boxes on capacity and big event experience, but the bid behind it was judged disappointing. Only around half the required funding raised. A long haul from the airport, and unlike rival states, no public money or tax incentives from Colorado. A 76,125-seat venue, and the mile-high altitude still couldn't lift it over the line. Commonwealth Stadium, Edmonton, Alberta. Canada's only outdoor finalist, but the aging stadium in Edmonton, Alberta needed renovation and ran an artificial surface. Crucially, Alberta's $110 million pledge came with strings attached. It was conditional on Edmonton being guaranteed at least 5 matches, including knockout games, which clashed with how FIFA wanted to allocate fixtures. With Toronto and Vancouver offering cleaner propositions, Edmonton was dropped. Nissan Stadium, Nashville, Tennessee. FIFA never gave an official reason, and local organizers in Nashville, Tennessee admitted they never received one either, but two clouds hung heavy over the bid. The city was the smallest market of all the finalists, and the future of the Nissan Stadium itself was deeply uncertain, with Nashville already planning a $2.2 billion replacement. That doubt almost certainly proved fatal. Camping World Stadium, Orlando, Florida. A 1994 World Cup venue in Orlando, Florida, backed by a passionate, fast-growing football city, yet FIFA stayed silent on why it missed out. With Miami chosen to fly Florida's flag and FIFA building tight regional clusters to streamline team travel, the Camping World Stadium became the odd one out in a state that only needed a single host. After years of campaigning, the City Beautiful was left disappointed. And there you have it, 23 stadiums, 3 brutal rounds of cuts, and a whole lot of heartbreak on the long road to 16. Some fell because of fixed roofs and plastic pitches, some over money, politics, and FIFA's fine print, and a few simply because their region was already spoken for. Which of these do you think most deserved a place at the 2026 World Cup? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss anything. Thanks for watching. See you soon.